Welcome to the show. For those that don't know me, my name is Mikhail. I run a networking group called Network Spotlight Elites. It's a combination of VCs, founders, different folks from different ecosystems, pretty diverse group that is all engaged and ready to collaborate. I also have this YouTube channel where I provide a platform for entrepreneurs to educate their community about what it is that they are building. Before I get to today's interview, just a heads up, I will be at ETH Denver March 2nd, Thursday at noon. I have my first in real life event at Lowdown Kitchen and Brewery. If you're in the area, if you would like to connect, please contact me. Links down below for best way to get in touch. Now, on today's show, I will be talking to Ashu, who is building Helix. Helix enables Web3 protocols to tap into the knowledge of their communities for support, providing a cost effective and rewarding solution. It's still being tested and developed. However, they already have multiple communities that are engaged with Helix. I think you guys will enjoy the show. Please support our founders, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and let's begin. Ashu, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Mikhail, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great, great. Well, let's just jump right into it. I know you've been a busy guy. You worked at LinkedIn, you were an advisor at Settle, and now you're working on Helix, which is in the Web3 space. So curious to understand what exactly is Helix.
Great question. And so Helix is born out of a insight coming out of two trends that we've been seeing in software industry in general and Web3 in particular. And those two insights are like one trend you see is the rise of open source as a movement. So more and more companies are making their repos open source. And with open source comes transparency, so anyone can go and read what's going on behind the scenes. And the second parallel trend is, and in Web3, for example, you see almost 100% compliance for this open source. Not every company does it, but most of the companies do it. And the second parallel trend that we see in software is the rise of community as a force. Like community-led growth is has been the buzzword when it comes to growth in last few years, last couple of years specifically. And again, Web3 leads the pack here. Every Web3 company or protocol has a very active and vibrant community. Now, the role of community, and we are thinking of like how can we elevate the role of community from being just like spreading word of mouth or like participating in Twitter spaces and retweets. How can the community be leveraged in a much more productive way, not just in Web3 but beyond Web3 as well? And it seems like with the rise of open source, if you bring these two trends together, the community can start by playing a much more active role in the support space. And they, rather than having a ton of an army of uh, customer support personnel in house, which takes a lot of time to train, lot of time to like get them onboarded. The community is already knows about your product inside out, and so they can work as the customer support faces for that particular company or protocol. And that's what Helix is enabling. We don't create your communities. What Helix does is it enables your existing community to act as your customer support personnel. And we are starting with the developer support, and we are like working with several L1s right now. And we are gradually graduating from just the developer support to regular user support as well.
So it sounds like one of the biggest advantages that you feel like you have by creating this business in Web3 is the fact that you don't need to train the individual, the developer. These are individuals that are already passionate about the project that they're wanting to support. And so they're coming in with expertise, and they're also incentivized to provide full support in
Support.
whatever need that they have.
Exactly. And if you think about it, it's a win-win. And win-win is a very overused term, but it's a win-win for all the three stakeholders. And the three stakeholders are the company, the community, and the user who is asking the question. And so for the company, it's like you reduce the onboarding time, which reduces a lot of costs. for the company or the protocol. For the community, they feel much more engaged in that particular product because they are really like helping in a very very productive way. And for the user who is asking the question, they are getting a much more authentic and warmer response from the community. They get to experience what it's like to be part of this community, and so it elevates the whole ship rather than just like one piece.
So, when you were conducting research on your end about this type of business model, is there somebody already doing this, but maybe perhaps there are some gaps there, or is this completely brand new? Nobody's really tried this before.
Great question again. Your questions are amazing. And so there are examples of it in definitely some of the more advanced communities in Web3 are doing it. And so, for example, I'd love to call out like Graph Protocol. They have DAO, which is like made up of community members, and their job is to like support the questions that are coming in Discord or like wherever. Um, so some of the more advanced protocols within Web3, which are like super decentralized, they are tapping into their community, but it's not very structured. The In Web 2, you'll see an example that there are some companies that are doing it, but it's just limited to one product. So for example, like Power BI is one product, where Koros is a community product. They use Power BI. Microsoft Power BI uses Koros, and the community provides support. But it's just like a forum where the community is not incentivized. What we are bringing to the table is the incentivized, structured community support, where you can rely on the community to give you timely and high quality support. If you just leave it as a forum, then the answers can come anytime, and the quality is a little bit suspect. And so we want to take care of all of that with Helix. And then so that this is a like crypto Web3 product that we're building, not just for Web3 companies, but for beyond Web3 as well. And so we are very excited about like how it can disrupt the traditional customer support space.
The biggest thing that comes to mind with this type of model is human behavior and understanding what people are incentivized by. And this is something that a lot of people in Web3 don't get right.
Mhm.
However, I would like to understand from your previous experience. As I mentioned, you were an advisor, you were also worked at LinkedIn. Um, how did your previous experience shape your knowledge of what you believe people are incentivized by?
Yeah, and so people are definitely. So my experience, like at LinkedIn, I launched LinkedIn Events, which is like a very community-driven product. It was like right into the community strategy at LinkedIn. Even before LinkedIn, my first company at 12 Labs, we were creating a community of like fitness enthusiasts to help each other in weight loss journey. And so to your question of what motivates a community member, it's definitely the sense of belonging. That's first and foremost. Like, do people feel excited and passionate about whatever they are associated with? And the second is, in some cases, you need to like provide that little bit of incentives, and those incentives can be monetary or non-monetary. This is just to channelize the behavior of the community members. And so some, like for example, gaming communities, they do it with the gamification, and it works pretty well over there. Stack Overflow had good success with it, with just the badges and the reputation points. And and so you need to add this little bit of gamifications to tap into that passion and channelize it in the right direction, otherwise it can go haywire. And so that's what we are also doing at Helix as well. So that's why we don't claim to create your community for you. You need to have a community, and with Helix you can engage your community much better. Hopefully you can grow your community much better with the right set of incentives. We try to get people who are knowledgeable about the product. So we have, in order for people to start earning rewards, we have functionalities like You can take a quiz, people can stake tokens so that they are like more aligned with the incentives of the company as well. And so we try to take care of those things, but like all things, it's also a journey in progress. And so the more we go out, the more we learn, and the better we become.
So now you're touching a little bit about the security, or I should say the technical aspect of it. You mentioned staking. So I imagine that these are running on smart contracts, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where the security and the safety comes in, and that's where Certic also comes in a big way.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
it does for sure. But I would like to ask, in terms of from a technical standpoint, how did you navigate those waters? Because I imagine, you might be a specialist, or you might understand how a community is incentivized. But
Mhm.
how did you understand? Okay, I should probably develop these smart contracts on this chain, or just
Mhm.
these questions that you may have. How did you go about answering them?
Yeah, and that would have been a great question for my co-founder and CTO, who is not here, unfortunately, Nagendra. And he is a great engineer, and he's the one that has done the most of the work on the technical implementation aspect. But what I can tell you is, like, we are part of some great communities where you can talk to. So when we started our journey in Web3, we were part of these early communities. The one that I can name over here is South Park Commons, based in SF. It's one of the best crypto communities I've been part of, and you get to meet these people, you get to learn from them, and then you also read a lot. You participate in these communities a lot yourself, and that's how you start your journey, and then eventually you start contributing as well, and that's the stage we are at. So we've been learning for last 1 year or more, and now we are in a place where we can contribute to the community too.
So what's next for Helix? Like when you look at your roadmap?
Yeah, so right now we are in alpha stage, and we will from here we will go to GA sometime in next few months for the developer support product. And the next roadmap, the next item on the roadmap is to release it for regular support, not just developer support, which is where these incentive structures become way more critical, because uh, with the developer support you still have a little bit of control, and so that's also very exciting but also a little bit scary, how it will pan out. And so and beyond that, like as I said, this is a product that is meant that is create that's a crypto Web3 product coming out of blockchain technology. But it's not just limited to Web3 companies. There are plenty of companies that are managing their communities, which could use the help of a product like Helix. And so we want to go beyond Web3 and into the wider internet for these companies, and show them the power of Helix.
You're very early on in the stage, but it sounds like you're very well on your way. For those that may not be familiar with what it's like to launch a business, what's so important about going through these stages, right? The alpha stage and then reaching beta before heading into mainnet.
Yeah.
What's the emphasis? Like, what's the importance of each one of those stages?
Yeah, and as you can see, I'm also going through the journey. So take my answer with a pinch of a salt. But I think what's especially in Web3, you I cannot overemphasize the role of community and being plugged into the community. So that's super super critical. Is like you are like all the customers that we are working with, we are like plugged into their community. We are listening in their discourse, what's going on. So that's definitely number one, um, which is like applicable to Web3. The second thing, as you graduate from like testnet to mainnet, I think the key piece is um, like how secure you are. Like Web3 is like known for like it's not known, but there has been a lot of like fraud and scams in like in Web3. And so how do you secure your product to ward against those malicious behaviors? That's that becomes really really important as you graduate to the mainnet, especially if you have even a little bit of traction. Anything that has a loophole will be exploited. We at least we go ahead with that principle. And then it's beyond that, I, it's the regular, how do you launch your product, how do you create the momentum around your product, how do you communicate. And so those things start becoming more and more important as you start going to bigger and bigger platforms, which is what these stages are. And I'm learning as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this together to learn. I think about the
Yeah.
industry that I'm in, which is security. Every day is a learning experience. And
Uh-huh.
speaking of security, there's a lot of exploits that occur on the community level. Of course, you've
Uh-huh.
got the security of the smart contracts and the actual
Yeah.
platform, but you also hear a lot of stories coming out where there are certain exploits on the community level. Do you
Uh-huh.
have, and I know you're not a security expert, but do you happen to have any, tips or advice for the user, or perhaps maybe the projects that are managing these communities on how to keep the community safer?
Yeah, and actually, I love your thoughts as well. I'll do my best to answer, but I love to see if you have any other thoughts too. So one is like I like to as a disclaimer, I like Discord as a product. It is the tool that people use to engage with their communities, but when someone new goes to Discord and asks a question, that gives a field day to scammers. Everyone in that channel knows that this is, by the tone and of that question, you can figure out whether this is someone experienced or this is someone who is using crypto for the first time. And the scammers in the channel or the group, then they will start DMing, because that person probably has not put in the protections that we, after using Discord for a year, have known that you need to block your DMs, you need to look for the tags, whether they are official moderators or someone else, stuff like that. And then that's the number one leakage, in my opinion, where the scams are happening for new people. And so that needs to be avoided. The second is the social hacking or phishing, which even experienced people are also get part of. But I don't think that's specific to Web3. The tools are new, but the techniques are applicable to Web2 as well. Just that in Web2, because they are more centralized, the processes are a little bit tighter. And in Web3, because it's more decentralized, the processes are a bit looser. It's a new territory, so we are just like figuring things out. But I'm not worried about those, because I'm sure like there are examples to learn from in the Web2 world. What I'm worried about is these tools that we are using, and by their design, there is problem. And so that's like part of that we are trying to fix with Helix. Is like, if you need a support, you don't just go and ask a public question in Discord. You ask it through a specific channel, or you ask it in on Helix, where the experts can come and answer you, and those experts, their incentives are aligned. And so we are trying to do that on our end as well. But yeah, it happens. People try to, the other thing we see is like people try to game the reputation systems quite a bit. um, and that happens as well. I'd love to know, just to flip the question back to you, what kind of things have you seen in the when it comes to the community and security?
Yeah, and by the way, I love your take on asking questions in public groups, because you're right. It does act like a sponge for a lot of the scammers. And one type of security risk that I'm noticing is a trend called butchering.
Uh-huh.
Pig butchering, which is an
Big.
extremely interesting way of describing a scam. But essentially, these are con artists, and they prey on individuals that might be lonely, maybe they're a little depressed, and they just have a very, what looks to be harmless conversations. But the incentive there is obviously the private keys. And for somebody that is on the project team, they're a little bit smarter typically with their private keys, although there are ways to, maybe there's a link they click on and they end up, exposing those private keys. But with individuals that don't really have much experience, you know, like a retail investor, they might fall under that. And so that's the
Mhm.
biggest trend that we're seeing. There's certainly tools out there. Like I hear about different bots that help and secure your community a little bit better. I don't know how effective they are. I would be curious to do a little bit more of a deeper dive,
Mhm.
but it is something that that is a trend in terms of in Web3. Ironically, one of the issues are some of the cybersecurity issues that we find in Web 2, and this is
Right.
to your
Yeah.
point. A lot of similarities there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I find, on the question of topic of similarity, I find the bots are a big menace in Web3, and there are like good off the shelf solutions in Web2 that take care of bots, and they are like not 100% secure, but they do a decent job. So it's just like a question of like awareness and catching up, because we are like just creating new grounds in Web3. We will see patterns of the problems that have been solved elsewhere, and we'll import the solutions and modify it to suit ourselves.
Are there any public bots that you're aware of that you had experience with and had a good experience?
I had a bad experience with bots. So, like, this was last year. We were trying to mint a Solana NFT collection, and just like put it on chain. And we didn't had the bot protection in place because it was just like early on, like January last year. So we were just following the Metaplex guide on how to do it. And we put our NFT on chain. And in the same time, some bots came in and they grabbed a good chunk of our NFTs. And after I think a couple of months, Solana came up with another guideline on how to stop the bots, what to do, and they were like still a work in progress. But that has been one of the experience with bots where I lost some images, some NFTs.
Well, hopefully that's the last experience, the last bad experience that you have. But it is still the wild, wild west, and
Yeah.
so a lot of times we're trying new things, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'd like to transition the conversation, Ashu, because you're in the
Mhm.
Bay Area, and the Bay Area is really known for it to be very high tech. You've got Silicon Valley there. However, when it comes to Web3, uh, and this is maybe that's just my humble opinion. I don't feel like it's
Mhm.
as dominant usually. When you think about Web3 in the United States, you think about maybe Texas because of the Bitcoin mining. You think maybe New York, definitely
Mhm.
Miami. But other parts of the world, you think about Singapore or Dubai. Would you
Yeah.
agree that the Bay Area is a little behind? And if so, why do you think that's the case?
I think, yeah, that's a good observation. And I do think Bay Area was a bit behind in, like till 2020. I would say starting 2021, Bay Area had started to catch up, especially in the technical spaces. And so you see like the move ecosystem is present in Bay Area in a big way. The And if you like also at LA, there is like good bit of like music and like creative things happening around crypto and Web3. And so yes, it's there, but also the reason Bay Area is not that known for crypto, in my opinion, is the talent here is not just working on crypto. They are also working on like biotech, and AI has taken a like, earlier people were coming from AI to crypto, and now people are going from crypto to AI, especially in Bay Area. You see that a lot. Also, there are like VCs here, and so whatever is the trend of the season, you see more and more companies in that. So right now, AI is the favorite buzzword of VCs as well as new startup founders, and so that happens just because Bay Area is a like big ground, and so even if you have a sizable crypto compared to other cities, it will not be that visible because there are like other maybe like bigger chunks of like other companies and other kind of startups working over here. So that's my general opinion, because I am in Bay Area, excuse me. In Bay Area, I am part of like some crypto communities that are like very decent, very high quality founders that are like working on tackling some of the hardest problems in L1, in community, so yeah, I that's my general opinion. The other thing is, like in general, like outside US, you'll see more of it because of the regulation, because of the lack of regulatory clarity, which we've been like asking of for a long time. But I do think Bay Area has decent crypto presence. Like Coinbase is here, Kraken is here. So yeah, I would, like, if you look at like purely from a like evidence perspective, I do think Bay Area stands on its own when it comes to the crypto community.
So perhaps maybe it's less quantity but better quality.
Um, I would,
Or would you
I mean,
not
I
agree with
think
that statement?
I think that can become a little controversial. I think the quality even outside is good. It's more technical over here, I would say. That I meet founders who are like working on solving some of the technical aspects of like scale, like solving the trifecta around L1s. And so, like, I know several L1s that are not even known yet, and they are people are solving it. Some really good founders.
You mentioned AI. Do
Yeah.
you feel like we are ready for the combination of blockchain technology and AI? Is there a place for it?
Yeah, let me think about it. That's a great question. I know several people have been looking into this area, like how can they use AI in crypto? Like one of them was like um, a very famous or very trendy phrase was like own your algorithms, or
Mhm.
like decide your own algorithms, what you want to see on social media, and maybe you can decentralize it so that no one controls what you see on social media. So that was one use case, but we have not seen that like come to fruition yet. Um, and there have been several other use cases too, around like AI and crypto. I would say at a high level, these both are rapidly evolving fields, rapidly, like both Web3 as well as AI. And so we will definitely see a convergence, what Charlie Munger calls it a Lollapalooza effect, where several big trends combined together, they create unexpected outcomes. So I do expect crypto and AI to converge. I don't see a prominent use case right now. I'm sure there are several in works which we don't know about.
Yeah, my concern is I feel like every bull market has takes a story that maybe was very successful for a specific reason, and
Yeah,
then they just use the keywords to make up these
yeah,
projects that are very low quality, right? I remember we were going through a period where Elon Musk was talking about Dogecoin, and then now all of a sudden you've got all these other
yeah,
different Doge projects, and yeah,
yeah,
maybe some of them are legitimate, maybe not. I don't know. I
yeah.
usually like to stick to projects with a little bit more utility.
Yeah.
Having said that,
Specifically on the AI, I would just add one point is AI needs a lot of resources to like train the model. Like something like OpenAI, I don't think we have the infrastructure in decentralized world yet to train that kind of like model, GPT-3 kind of model. And so our infrastructure, like crypto infrastructure, needs to upgrade as well in parallel. So that's why I'm hopeful that they will converge at some point, but they are just not at the place right now. And to your point on like the buzzwordiness, I have stopped trusting anything that I see coming from influencers on Twitter, like no matter who they are. Like I try to see like whether there is like, are they coming from first principles, what's the fact versus what's the opinion. I try to differentiate it, because everyone has their own interest when they are tweeting about it, so you have to really dig into it to believe it. So yeah, that will be my general advice to everyone.
Always, yeah, do your own research, absolutely. There are certain projects, and I don't know enough about them, but, I know that recently they have been doing well because of the AI trend, like Fetch, I believe it's Fetch.ai,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. It's something that I heard about during, for over a year now, I would say, but I'm not entirely sure if there's a real use case there. But it's something that I would be interested to look into a little bit more. I'm sure somebody listening like knows all about it, but yeah, something of interest if we really are curious about seeing how the two worlds can
Can come
potentially
together.
come together. But I think from an AI standpoint, that I mean, we're still just scratching the surface on that. I mean, Chat GPT can't even. I think all the information is based off of 2021 and and
Yeah,
and before. So we don't
right.
even have any information from 2022 or
Yeah.
present day.
Yeah, I'll tell you a fun story about Dali, not ChatGPT. So December, like 2022, I thought I'll create a very custom new Happy New Year card using Dali, and so I wanted the card to have like Happy New Year 2023, and I tried maybe 100 prompts. It just couldn't create that. So I would tell it to create a card written Happy New Year 2023. It will create a card written Happy New Year 2022, Happy New Year 2021, but not 2023. As simple as that. And it tells you some of the limitations because the Happy New Year 2023 data is just not there in the DALI trend images, and so that's why they were not able to create that kind of image. And so yeah, it's there are some like severe limitations as to how you are using it, and there is a very popular term in AI called hallucinations. These models hallucinate. If you ask them a question, they will come up with an answer, but they are just hallucinating the answer. It's not a real answer, and it will be a challenge going forward as to how do you differentiate whether it's a hallucination or not, for if you don't know enough about the subject.
Yeah. Side note, I'm actually using DALI to create my logo for the Network Spotlight group. So it should be interesting to see
Awesome.
what it comes up with. I'll share pretty soon.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, yeah. I think Canva also has a AI powered editor, so you might give it a try too and compare which one is doing better. A Playground.ai, I've heard some good things about them.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check out Canva because I use Canva, but I didn't know that they have a AI version. So
Yeah,
I'll
I
I'll
think
have
they.
to
Yeah,
look
awesome.
at it. Last question, Ashu. So you're part of the Network Spotlight group. Curious to get your experience. I know you just recently joined, but from the few times that you've spent there, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
I think it's one of the cleanest Telegram groups I've been part of. The signal to noise ratio is extremely high. The people in the group are like, you want to talk to each of them and learn. There is something to teach, and the content that is in the group is amazing. So I have only good things to say about that group, and it's right now at a size where like it's just the right amount of content coming in. I actually thanks for adding me to that group because I get a lot of value out of it.
I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. And where can people follow along on your journey? What social media platforms can they be part of?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Dubey ISM. Dubey is my last name, ISM. Um, it's like you can call it Dubeism, but I'm not trying to spread a religion. It's just like ISM was the name of my school, and so when I created my Twitter account, that was my handle. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can just search for my name, Ashu Dubey, and you should be able to find me. Yeah, Helix, Ashu Dubey, Helix, Ashu Dubey, LinkedIn. All these keywords should lead you to my profile, and I love to connect with more people either on LinkedIn or Twitter and hear from them. What do they think about Helix?
What people would you want to hear from the most? Just out of curiosity.
Community builders, people who are building communities, people who are managing communities, because we are this product is primarily used by that kind of group, and so any feedback from that group would be super super useful.
Wonderful, Ashu. Well, I appreciate the time. I appreciate all the insight that you provided into what it's like to manage a community and all the benefits that you're looking to provide through Helix. Thanks again, and we'll chat soon.
Thanks for having me, Mikhail. Talk to you soon. Bye.